of course, for any course, we do meet as far as the department and develop or at least review the textbooks that are available. So we want to, of course, determine which ones are going to be appropriate for the course we're teaching. And so with Introduction to International Relations, that one was, we reviewed a number of different ones, but Kegley is the one that we chose. So that does have a lot to do with the course structure. The issue here is that I will go through with the course and look at things that are happening in the news, but also determine how many, of course, lecture hours I'm going to need to cover that particular topic. And so it will expand from there. In some cases where it's been repeated, I will simply cut it down and in the next, and so I will just structure it that way. The things that, of course, get in the way is the news. And so when you have things happening in the news that are very, very interesting, and it's like, in the last semester we had the Ukraine, which is still ongoing, but it had so many different lessons there, which I know you guys probably, were nauseated by the repetition. But it was just an issue of trying to relate that to the course principles. And so it comes down to that kind of thing. And the way I've always seen this is that in teaching, to cover the core principles first, and then to look at applications on how I can bring them to life. And hopefully we can bring that into the news about how that relates directly to a news item and a current event. So that's the idea. The other thing, of course, that is required in that kind of mode of instruction is this student interaction and that involvement. And so if I have students who don't read the book or don't read the assignment, then they are already at a loss, because we're talking about principles they should have already read about, and we can now reinforce that learning through actual examples. I always get a kick out of this when I end up having students who show up to class and almost give off an air that I want to be entertained now. So you can, it's up to you as an instructor. Show me a nice video. Make this easy. I don't want to read the book. Okay, give me an outline so I don't have to. And so that's the kind of thing that I've been struggling with, because I'd rather be able to have that very vibrant classroom discussion. But when I ask questions and the class has not read the book, they're deer in the headlights. And that's what happens with people who are not keeping up with the news, who've not done the assignments, okay, and come to class expecting that it's just going to be osmosis. So I structure my class so that there is work involved here, and that you have to become engaged, whether it's the book or whether it's the news or whether it's the discussion. And I've just got to do more of that, I think, because it's just an issue of we have such a wealth of background with the students that needs to be shared. And if you noticed in this last semester, and I'm going to be, kind of picking on that one, but there were some students that got behind and didn't want to do the reading and just wasn't their thing. And they basically became isolated in different pockets of the classroom.
Yeah.
And did not want to contribute, did not want to be engaged in that particular topic. And so that was the kind of issue that goes on. But yeah, course structure goes back to the book. And then, of course, move away from that book, shooting different things, using the book basically as an outline, but also as that storehouse of those principles that need to be addressed, and then bringing this to life as much as I can through the news, and also adding in my own experiences as I can too. So,
okay. Do you for grading? Do you believe in curving, standardization?
I don't believe in curving at all. I don't believe in, of course, giving extra credit, because I do it in other ways. In other words, you have the assignment, you have the study guide, which I actually present. And what I don't like, and I never liked as a student, is to say, okay, here are 5 questions, and I'm going to ask you one of them. And so you have to prepare for all 5 questions, and they're all worth 10, 20 points. Never liked that. I think that's actually kind of counterproductive. It's like a guesswork kind of thing. or to say, I'm going to ask a question about this particular principle. I would rather have a question like I have been doing. Let me give you a broad question, and then let me get your interpretation. I want you to demonstrate that you understand the principle and you can actually apply it with an example. And this is your short answer or your essay question that you have. And so there are points out there. It's like, okay, the people who are prepared will see that study guide and they will go for the points. They'll say, oh, I got it. Okay, I can look this up. I know where to find this, and I'll prepare myself. Those that are not will not, and therefore they will not do well. And so it comes down to this, and I've had discussions with other students, or other instructors about how how a better system is to actually give more specific requirements. This is going to be on the exam. You're going to need to know this term. You're going to have to know this question. You have to respond to this essay. It's much better that way. But so we also get into this reverse curve issue, what you and I talked about. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm going to give you a study guide, you're going to have those individuals who actually will prepare for that and very well. And so you'll have that high point with all the A's and high B's. And then there will be a gap, and then there will end up being D's and F's at the other end of the spectrum that don't prepare at all, can't do it, okay, and they will, just not do well. And I saw that throughout my semester and actually in the courses. More in the other course that I had than this semester than yours, but for 241. It was 135, American National Politics. So I ended up, I believe, with out of 27 students, there was approximately like 11 A's, 3 B's, no C's, or that, no, I'm sorry, it was 3 B's, and then it was 12 C's and 3 D's. So it gives you an idea. There's this gap in the B area, and so you have that kind of thing going on. I give bonus questions, of course, which is that compensation if people want to really be able to put in the extra effort, and they can gain those points. So it's like, here's the points, go get them. Yeah. What I get I'm very curious about is I have students who will turn their exams in without even attempting the essay, the bonus question. And so my comment is, I can't even give this away. Okay, you had this question. Yeah. All you have to do is research it. And it's right there, and then you have your 10 points. You have your 2 5-point questions. So it's kind of funny that way.
Yeah, I never really understood why you would be able to pay for school, but then not even put any effort in. And it's definitely not the fault of just the professors. I think the students definitely need to take more of initiative as well and start putting into the course so they can get something out of it as well.
Well, the other thing that I get frustrated about, too, is the issue of I have students who will go on Rate My Professor or will complain that the course is too easy, for example. And I mentioned this in class. The course is too easy were the comments, okay, from one of the classes that I've had. But at the same time, every single exam and even the course grade has been running at about 79 to 81% in that range throughout my 6 years teaching at the community college. It's really been amazing that's been pretty much the guideline, which is about right. But it's from the information that I provide them, I would expect actually a higher course grade than that.
Okay. Why do you think that is?
It's a lack of effort. It's like I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to have to read every chapter. And in some cases, I had students that come to me with just Kegley, Introduction to International Relations, and said, I can't understand this. Now, it's very simply written, and it's just an issue of you need to understand this language and be able to comprehend it, these concepts. So it's kind of a thing that I actually saw on the student reaction to instruction. I had, for example, in your class, International Relations, I had the two ends of the spectrum. I had the one individual who said, too easy. It was boring class. The only reason I came is because to meet the attendance requirement. And the other side was Mr. Zeller did not provide the foundation necessary for my full comprehension of these principles. I thought this was going to be an introduction to international relations. And so you have those two. Everybody else was very fine in the middle, but you had those two outliers in one end of the spectrum. So I end up structuring my courses to teach not only those individuals who've been around the world a couple of times, but also individuals who had never been out of the state, except on a holiday, okay, and never have lived outside really their hometown. And that's the kind of students that I've actually have, in the classroom.
Okay, that approach makes a lot of sense to me.
It's
So,
one way to do it.
in terms of assignments, what would you say is your favorite assignment, or what you see as the most engaging assignment?
The research paper by far. That's the one where I expect a student to really, first of all, they get an opportunity to choose their own topic. I'm not dictating what they actually write about, which I think is very important. And they therefore talk about something or want to write about something that they're really personally interested in, whether it's a conflict in the world, or lack of biodiversity, or let's say the whales, whatever it is. Okay, you end up having we're fishing in the seas, all those things, and then really starting to dig into all those actors that are involved, and so I see that come out in students that have been quiet all semester, and now they have an opportunity to really show what they can do and show how well they can do it. Now the problem, of course, I have with that is that the prerequisites, they're supposed to have already understood how to do an MLA citation and how to structure their paper and how to write, and they don't. It's like bad habits I'm seeing coming back from high school that show up over and again. So it's their chance to shine. Unfortunately, they don't.
Okay.
But that's my favorite, just because it really gives them an opportunity to do well. Besides that, second favorite, of course, is a classroom discussion on current events, and that's what I want to be able to actually improve on in the next, my next classes anyway.
Okay.
What's next?
What would be some tips that you would give students in the classroom and outside of the classroom?
Well, it goes back to following instructions. It goes back to, understanding that this is not an adversarial relationship. I don't see that as my role as an instructor and their role as a student. This is not something that it's not, shouldn't be threatening really at all. It really comes down to, I want them to understand the information, but on top of that, I want them to be able to let me know if they're having a hard time with it. And as you know, students who are having a difficult time understanding it will simply just clam up, and they will not say that because they don't want to, they feel embarrassed, they feel like I would yell at them, I guess. I have no idea. But the idea is, of course, that I see this, it's really the role of the community college. You have individuals who are transitioning from high school, and they're going to a four-year college. So you end up having this role of Thomas Nelson, or any community college really, that is a stepping stone. It's a opportunity to really grasp some concepts, but also learn how to do things like write and study and read and perform in a college environment. So you have that. It's basically following instructions, if you will. Do the assignments, and make sure that you, of course, come to class prepared. So all those things will help. But again, it comes back to this. The people who will get the most out of their classes, the people who put the most in. So if they put a lot of time into it, then they'll do well.
Okay. So what about some tips for outside of the classroom? Just general life tips. You can go wherever you want with this one.
It's too open. General life tips. Stop making excuses. How about that one?
Okay, that's a good one. I like that one.
I mean, it's really something, I'm a firm believer in the potential for every single person. And if they just set their mind to it, if they actually work, if they set their goal and they really want to work toward that goal and are determined, they will achieve it or close to it. They'll get very close. But it's this idea of, well, I can't do this or I can't do that, or, that's too hard. That kind of thing bothers me about pretty much anyone. It's like, it's out there. Okay. It's like a bonus question, isn't it? Okay. It's out there. Go get it. Go get the points. You can do this. So anyway, go ahead.
That was a good one too. That's something that I've started to incorporate in my life as well, as a student who used to make a lot of excuses as well. So what do you think is unique? What do you think is unique about Thomas Nelson?
Actually, I like the environment that it has. It's especially the location. It's the fourth largest one in the community college system for one, and in Virginia. So it has a pretty good enrollment. But it has, what's unique about it. You have the faculty that's very, very close and really wants to work together, and there's really not much friction between the full-time faculty and the adjunct faculty. Now, adjunct faculty, by the way, if you didn't know, in the VCCS, it's about 63% of all instructors are adjunct faculty, including myself. And so you have this kind of pool. They're doing this, of course, to save money, but it's that kind of pool that they have for instruction, which I think is very high quality. And those individuals who are not high quality, of course, are being slowly getting rid of. So I've seen people disappear, no longer work there, okay, and rightly so. So standards are high, cooperation is good, and I have really nothing but positive comments about Thomas Nelson, actually, because they've provided me with an opportunity which has been very, very beneficial. So I've had actually a lot of latitude to develop my own course material and to do what I wanted to do in the classroom. So a lot of latitude for that.
I've gotten the same kind of response from a lot of the professors there. Seems to be generally a very positive environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think students will be very interested in your interests outside the classroom, as well as just your career path. And not even just your career path, but just your path to teaching.
Right. Well, I can summarize this in basically phases. Okay, I've been around the block a while, so it's that kind of, when in the military, I was actually, let's go back even further. When I was going to college, I went to college in Penn State, and I was without a direction. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, what I wanted to major in, okay, that kind of thing. And I found that the military gave me, at that time now, gave me a direction and gave me that kind of structure that I needed at the moment. So it was that kind of doorway. And that was for me. I'm not saying that's good for everybody or appropriate for everyone, but that was then. And so you end up having that, giving me that opportunity. And I ended up involved in a lot of different operations and assignments in the military, which of course is one of the reasons why I'm teaching the classes I teach. And so, some of the stories that I've told you guys, I try to keep that as a minimum though, okay, because I know that's a bit tedious, there I was kind of stuff. But it all served a purpose. But there came a moment when I had to look back and say, okay, this is enough. My heart's not in this anymore. I want to go do something else. In other words, I don't want to do this the rest of my life, and I don't want to think that I have to. And I don't want to be, fit the same pattern as many people who are retired say, okay, I'll go work defense contracting, which I did for a period of time, but then changed. I said, no, I can't do this, and wanted to go do something completely different. So I ended up taking a job as a vice president of property management for an area agency on aging, and doing that kind of work working with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And so working that kind of administrative things and then going to teach in Thomas Nelson. So this is the kind of thing that I wanted to do. But it's one of those issues where you get to a point in your life where you just really want to do those things which feel right to you, which you want to accomplish. And so nothing I do now actually has anything to do with the military whatsoever. It's just one of those, I think, life experiences that I had that I can bring to the classroom where necessary, and if it helps to illuminate a particular subject. But my own, as far as hobbies go and that kind of thing, and you've read this, but with the Equine Rescue League and things like that, as far as I got involved in that, so I actually have a horse that I've adopted that I take care of, and so that kind of work, that kind of involvement, my personal feelings toward that I wanted to to do that kind of thing, and so that's pretty much it. But I just really am working on my house and teaching. And the teaching, of course, has been something, it takes, of course, a lot longer than people may think to prepare the classes and to be prepared on in the classroom. So anyway, so it gives you an idea. But as far as any kind of advice to students, it's one of those issues of, follow what you really want to do as opposed to following the money. And that's really the issue, because I had some large checks flashed in front of me as far as defense contracting. If you come work for us, you can make this amount of money or this amount of money. And I said, no, that's fine. Keep it. Okay. That's not what I want to be doing. I want to go do this. And if it's less money, but actually I'm happier and I'm actually more creative in doing this, then I am more fulfilled. As long as I can live and survive, I'm going to be okay. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I
Right.
really appreciate you participating in the interview and sharing all that with us. And thank you again.
Sure.